stop business as usual where politicians and government is aiding and abetting the very industries that are destroying our communities. And instead, they're focused on short-term gain and not a real balance, which is what you're asking for to be struck. When you're focused on short-term gain, you're providing jobs for the short term. You're providing jobs that are unsustainable. You're not providing careers. And if you want to support a family farm, you have to look at it as a career, and you have to address it as such. And that's not what's the business as usual model that we're seeing in the state of West Virginia.
Number one, we need to make that a percentage of value with a floor. We need to raise that $20,000 to $40,000, $50,000. When it was set 30 years ago, you're right, the cost of the house was significantly lower. So we need to raise that, number one. We need to make that a sliding scale based upon percentage of value, so that particularly our elder citizens who shouldn't have to go out and worry about taking out a loan to pay off their house. They're afraid they're going to lose it when the sheriff's sale comes because they can't pay their taxes. That needs to be fixed. But that's probably a smaller issue and a bigger problem of our overall tax structure that needs to be looked at, revised, and fixed from top to bottom. Just the same thing as we have with our B&O tax with our municipalities and cities.
What does that lead to? That leads to a stronger economy. That leads to small businesses being able to focus on their product and not their paperwork. And certainly, I am about interaction among all the state of West Virginia. And all you have to do is go look at it right now within the Secretary of State's office.
I ask every member of the legislature and those who are in leadership positions right now, I challenge you to be fair and equitable about how you design these districts so that everyone has a fair voice.
Virginia is poised to have to break out that day. With proper leadership and the right courage and the right vision, West Virginia can do that. I don't know about you folks, but I'm tired of being last. I truly believe West Virginia's days, brightest days, are ahead of us. That's why I've created and I propose the creation of the West Virginia Future Fund. That we take some of the 25% of the additional revenues we're going to see from this Marcellus Shale, lock it up in the bank, create some real opportunities and wealth in this state. Could you imagine how rich we'd be today as a state had we had the wisdom, foresight, or courage to do that 100 years ago with our coal reserves? We didn't, and we suffered because of it. This time, if we do have that second opportunity, we need to create wealth. I also can tell you I'm from the other panhandle, and I know how important you are. I know what it feels like to feel isolated from the state, and that's why my first act as acting president of the West Virginia Senate was to name John Unger as my majority leader and Herb Schneider as my gubernatorial chair. And I can tell you, I recognize the
disconnect between this panhandle and Charleston. There's also a disconnect between the northern panhandle and Charleston, and that needs not to be happening. We've been sitting on the back of the bus too long. We need to move up front.
Generations in the hills and hollows of West Virginia, I was a first responder, and now I'm trying to be a political first responder because, folks, we're in a crisis in this nation and in this state. This is more valuable than gasoline, though we're ruining it at breakneck speed. I've heard a lot of great ideas up here today, and many of them I called for since I've been training for this job on my own dollar. Since I won my first nomination in 2004. 2008, I called for the Citizens Environmental Dividend. In 2004, integrated technology. In 2004, back to Main Street local banking and local food. 2004, the first energy source. The number one energy source in the state of West Virginia is not being tapped and is not providing jobs, and that's conservation. That is across the board. If we conserve, we can save up to 70%. I'm running in order to be the first third-party president or governor in the state of West Virginia, and I've had Senate and congressional endorsements.
This concludes the portion of our candidate forum.